Well, hello. This is Dean Radcliffe, author of the library Polyrhythm, and drummer, and dad, and fan of React and coding and children's toys. So I do software, but I've been moving more towards the front end because I like interactivity, and I'm a student of the way we interact with devices, software devices, hardware devices. And so I wrote this library, Polyrhythm, kind of to enable myself to do these kinds of things that I like. And it turns out to be pretty useful because it captures some very common use cases. Use cases that I will exemplify with children's toys. So, Halloween, I got this little guy. He makes a noise. He's got a button. Pretty cool. Pretty long, but pretty cool. So, yeah, my son Declan really loves this. So I was playing with this, and one time he touched it and turned it on, and I wondered if I could turn it off. I wondered if pressing the button again while he was operating would turn him off. What do you think? Let's give it a shot. And there it goes. It goes off. And that's a reasonable mode of operation for a one button thing. You're like, what does this have to do with web development? We'll get there. So then later he was like, I want to read Daniel Tiger. Daniel Tiger books we have several of, but the one that has sound is this one. Daniel Tiger goes to the potty. And so naturally it has like a potty flush sound. Let's check that one out. It's pretty cool. Or the other way if you're, in Australia or New Zealand. And so naturally I thought that it would behave the same way as this guy. That if it was flushing and I pressed the button, it would stop, I suppose. Let's see what it does. It's flushing. It didn't stop. Try it again. What's going on there? And then I thought, maybe that's not an accident. Maybe it's just like a real toilet where it's flushing, right? And the next flush, while it's flushing, doesn't do anything. It's ignored. I thought elevator buttons are like that too. And I'm starting to see a family of related things, related operations. And I can picture how to code them, but each one's a bit different and a bit complicated. It's not even the whole family. So speaking of potty time songs, is this book where now there's more buttons, but different songs, right? So what if I'm playing this potty song and it's in dun, 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 and I decide I don't want it? What happens here? Well, nothing if I press the same button, but what if I switch it to another one, like this clock one? Aha! So it replaced that playing song with this one. Likewise, it'll do that for Elmo. And then there's a little stop button there, which makes sense since these don't stop it. And you can think of that as replacing any one of these songs with an empty song. I mean, just to be consistent, this is the replace type of sound. So I'm really seeing a pattern, at least with things that do only one thing at a time. And so I started sketching out this family of things and thinking about, what it's doing. But I had to actually finish out the family. And so one of the ways that I think is an example of that is if you use like an on-screen keyboard. So my kids also like to play on-screen keyboards. And to make sure that it's in sustain mode, right? And if it's in sustain mode and I'm pressing a button, a key on the virtual keyboard. Oh, that's too high. Let's go. I don't know if you can hear this, but you notice how it does none of the previous 3 modes. It actually stacks the sound so you get a chord. Let me go louder one more time. Right? So sometimes things don't cut off, replace, or ignore. And so this became the 4th mode, and I knew I was onto something. And in search for the thing that completes the set, I recalled that in applications like Spotify, you can be playing a song and then add a song to the queue. And then I realized that's 5 modes. Same number of pieces as Tetris. We like Tetris. Tetris is a good complete set. And these 5 modes are a good complete set. And what you can do with the Polyrhythm library that I don't think you can do anywhere else is specify declaratively with just one little string the mode that a certain handler should operate in. And this is very relevant for the web because for each one of these kind of musical analogies, I mean, it's called Polyrhythm, I'm into music, so I have musical analogies, but for each one of these, there's a web development example where you would want that little piece of web UI to operate in that specific mode. So the serial, the playlist mode can be good for queuing things up. The parallel mode for things like buttons that are independent. The replace mode for an autocomplete and so forth. So with Polyrhythm and with these concurrency modes, you have the ability to quickly switch. And in other words, decouple the async overlap behavior from the rest of your application, which makes it easier to write and easier to change and easy to fine tune as well. So I don't know. I think you can check out the links to the library, look at the README, look at some of the examples. And, I love music. I love software. I'm going to continue to do them both. I got, ink and whatever. I'm in deep with this. So I hope you like this library. I hope it's useful to you and make some cool stuff with it. I know I am. And share it and talk about what we can do. Cheers.